Well, my baby, she done left me alone. Said I was a no good and head out on the road. She ain't gonna see me cry, ain't gonna see me shed no tear, mama, no. Why would I cry? I got 6 more waiting on that telephone. That operator praises me, he praised my name. He's been working overtime since you went away. He's got kids to feed, his bills to do, and thanks to you, he's getting that union pay. Brother, I'm working too, a full-time job, I'm bailing this hay. I bale hay in the morning.
What's up? What's up? What is going on? What's happening? What's going on? Oh, man.
Sorry, that was me.
What was you?
Oh, if the music was playing in the background, I was trying to pull up the chat on YouTube. My fault. I wasn't trying to mess up your stream like right off the jump.
Yeah, you messed it all up. Gil, why'd you do that? Gil, you have no experience in podcasting. What's the matter with you?
I know. I'm a newbie. I've been fucking learning.
Yeah. Hey, you like my shirt?
I do. I love it. I was looking at that when you were moving around your light situation.
Yeah, it was a Father's Day present, actually. It was pretty cool.
Nice.
Man, these kids, they know me, man. They know me.
That's good.
Cool. Actually, the funny part about it was I was actually in a store with my kids, and they saw, like I had said, oh, that's such a cool shirt. And then like we bought another shirt for the other kids, or one of my other kids. I forget what we were doing. And then we left, and Father's Day was around the corner. And I guess like they talked and they were like, oh, he really liked that shirt. And then, they got me like 3 or 4 t-shirts that I really like enjoyed and liked. Are you able to, you're not able to share this stream, are you? On your, I don't think so, right?
Yeah, no, that's what I was just thinking. I just pulled up YouTube, and I was trying to I'm going to share the YouTube feed. Is there a certain place that you would like them to come from, or as long as
YouTube's fine? I'm actually trying. It's funny too, because I went and looked after the episode where Ian was on. The next day I had over 1,000 streams, and I was like, wow, but it was almost all on Facebook. And it's tough because, like, at least with YouTube, a lot of people can check in, and then they can, if they have like YouTube Premium or whatever, they can kind of let it sit in the background, and they don't have to worry about, the screen doesn't have to be on. But where Facebook, they kind of have to like be there, like with it on, watching it. You know what I mean? So, but who knows? Who would have thought? Who would have thunk? Yeah. So most of my audience actually is on Facebook, but let's see if we can let's see if I can move it over to YouTube. That's why I was posting. I said, hey guys, we'll be on YouTube. But ladies and gentlemen, I have an individual here who, for most people that are going to watch this, needs absolutely no introduction, but there are people who are going to listen and they have no idea. They don't even know who you are, Gil, which is a travesty. So who the heck are you, Gil?
Hey man, I'm just a normal guy who loves this thing that we all do called HVAC. Second generation tech. My dad did this. I've done pretty much everything that you can do in the trade. Like me and Everett were talking. I've done install all the way up to the service, the sales, the management, to being a general manager of multi-million-dollar companies. And it's been an amazing ride. And through that, also 10 years ago, I started the HVAC Uncensored Podcast. Never in a million years thought that it would turn into anything. And now it's one of the largest HVAC podcasts out, with millions of downloads, which it's amazing. I love it. I love the people I get to meet, the people I get to help, and at the same time make myself better. So it's been awesome. I'm enjoying the ride, and I'm going to enjoy it as long as it goes, because sometimes just as fast as it comes, it can go. So I'm just enjoying it, soaking it up.
Has it ever gotten to a point where you felt like the podcast, because of how popular it is and because of how many, because of how many episodes you've done and how often you do it, has ever come to a point in time where you've thought like it's a job?
Yeah, for sure. And I try to not make it. I want to keep it fun, like, and like the podcast makes really, really good money. But I keep it as extra. I don't count on it because I don't want it to ever turn into a negative thing. Obviously, it's a business. The podcast is unstudioed, Uncensored Productions owns HVAC Uncensored LLC. So I have a couple of different businesses that all wrapped into one underneath of it. But yeah, it's a lot of work, and I've helped anybody that's, and I mean, you're my friend, it's different, but even people that I'm not even particularly close to, when they reach out to me and say, hey, I want to start a podcast, like I'm all for helping. I think it helps our industry, the more people that get out there and do it. But they realize it's a lot of work, man, especially when you work all day. You come home, you're tired, it's been a rough day, but now you have this. I got a commitment. When I say I'm going to be there and people are waiting for me, I can't just not do it. And I feel horrible. Like my power outage situation, which has been fucking frustrating, and I have to cancel shows. It sucks. Like I don't like it. Or on a Monday when an audio podcast doesn't come out on time, I'll have 1,000 emails. Hey, everything okay? Hey, you good? Because they know that they expect me at certain times, and it feels good. You know what I mean? That people are waiting for that. But yes, it is a job. I try not to make it feel that way, but it's gotten big enough that it's kind of hard for it not to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I guess most people would not necessarily know this, but you were instrumental in me doing this and coached me through some things and trying to keep my head, together. Like, hey, listen, keep it simple, keep it consistent. And I just want to say I thank you for that. And I'll probably thank you again. But yeah, you and Tersh were like instrumental in like even like some of the stuff that I bought and all this other stuff. And then you tell me you're going to send me all sorts of things, and then I keep waiting by the mailbox. And
well, hey, I just my fans, I mean, my supporters know that I'm the worst shipper ever. So yeah. I have 2 veto bags that were a giveaway last month that are sitting over there. So
a veto bags, nice.
Yeah. So yeah. But I got you, I promise. And but I appreciate that, man. And I love and I think what you're doing with this podcast is amazing. It's a totally different avenue. I think it's something different. But I also think when people start, they expect to grow too fast. They're not realistic, and it is all about being consistent. And I say that to everybody. Like, people need to know, hey, every Thursday, 8:00, I want to go see Everett, especially the people that like your content and are interested. They need to know where to find you, and you're going to be there at a certain time. And, too many people, they'll do a show and they'll stop. 2 weeks later, they'll do one,
I've noticed that. And I knew from the gate, I was like, well, first of all, who the hell even knew if anybody was going to seriously want to listen to anybody on this thing? And then it turned out that, it's a really interesting angle. And I listened back because I was on the Misfits of HVAC podcast, and I listened back to because at first, as I first launched this thing, you were like, hey, come on. And you had me as a guest, and you were like, hey, come on. And that was kind of neat. That was actually in January. Or even December. It was like at the gate. And then I had no idea if anybody was really going to enjoy it, but I knew I just want to have conversations with people. And I was really curious about things. And so I was hoping that it would get some traction, and God, I mean, it really has in a very short time. So I'm really happy about that. So Gil, you spent time you were out in the field and you still like now what? Like, okay, you worked for Beltway for a while. You were there and whatever. Now you're what? You're coaching, you're training. Is that what's happening?
Yeah. So, first and foremost, I love Beltway. I love Ryan, the owner. I love everybody that's there. I love what we built there with the culture and stuff like that. But to be honest, my heart just wasn't in it. And I've been battling with that for a long time. It was a struggle, and it's not fair to the people there if I'm not giving them, the best version of myself. I can't fake the funk. And it just got to the point where it just, in my heart of hearts, it was like, I want to do other things in my career. And to be honest, I don't even have it dialed in exactly what I want to do. I do enjoy this coaching. I love helping people and give back. And everybody says, oh, I want to help the next generation. And I've been saying that for years, but it's like, okay, well, put your money where your fucking mouth is. Like, let's do it. You know what I mean? Let's stop talking about it and actually helping people. And I just love helping these kids, man. Like the kid that I was with today, he's a smart kid technically. Like he understands the technical stuff. He just doesn't, he's not a talker. And, I've only been riding with this guy for maybe a week and a half. We have some classroom training and then I'm out in the field with him. And I show him how it works. And then I say, okay, now you do it. You go do this. And he had 2 calls where normally he would do maintenances and get nothing, and he got what, a $1,600 ticket and a $1,400 ticket, was able to explain everything to the customer. And let me just let everybody know, honestly, I don't teach that pathetic, dishonest bullshit. There's too much honest money out there, but yeah. And that's awesome. Just seeing the kid grow. And I love that. I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to do it on a mass side. I'm still trying to put that together. But I've been fortunate that I have some other business ventures in my life that I don't have to, rush into something. So I'm not sure what the next avenue is going to be for me. If anybody wants, hey, hit me up. Just kidding.
No, you don't have to kid around it. I mean, when Ian came on, he was straight up networking his business. He was like, all right, guys, well, call me. There were, 1,000 people that looked at it. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, I got to hit you up. I got to hit you up. I got to hit you up. So yeah, what's so funny? So I sit on the board for TACA, Texas Air Conditioning Contractors of America. And what was so funny was today, the executive director said, I need you to do this training that you were talking about. And I said, a webinar. I said, okay, I'll do the webinar. And then she said, I'm going to market it as the Sales Podcast guy, not Lapel. I was like, really? She's like, yeah, I want to market it as the Sales Podcast guy. So I was like, all right, well, that's cool.
That is cool.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be like an hour webinar or whatever it is. I want to ask you, man, when you say your heart wasn't into it, was it like an internalized thing? You just weren't into it. Like sometimes sometimes I can feel that because maybe I don't have a transfer of belief of where I'm working. Maybe I don't believe where I'm at, or maybe it's just like, oh, this is a bad fit. Or maybe it's just my stupid mind that's going, shit, like what's next? Like there's got to be something better. And there's always, for me, at least, I don't know what you feel, and this really sucks, but it's like, it's better. There's always something better. There's always like, it's like, and it's a constant thing. And you know what? I've had friends tell me like, dude, like you like, bro, I think here's the thing. There's a certain people that have the mentality, like they wake up in the morning, like go to work. Like that's what you do. You get up, you go to work, you get your paycheck, you fuck off and you go home, and that's it. And then you work in the same place for however long. And then like, maybe after like 10 years or some shit like that, something else comes along and that's really good. And I'll take that and I'll go do that. Right. But it's like that mentality where it's like, I can't wrap my head around that mentality at all. I can't, and I feel bad, but it's like I'm like I want to go. I want to make, I don't know. I
get
maybe
bored fast.
Yeah, just make impactful changes, make an impact in general, right? And so, sometimes I don't know how you feel, man, and I'm going on and on here, but it's like I feel like if I have so much to offer, I just want to offer it all, right?
Yeah.
I want to offer it all. I want to sit and I want to train. I want to coach. I want to look at the P&L. I want to have my hands wrapped around absolutely everything sometimes. And not and the problem is, you got to work with people. You got to be a team player too. So sometimes that selfish attitude works for you. Sometimes that selfish attitude works against you. I think it works for you more than it works against you. But anyway, I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but
yeah, no. And I agree. I feel, to be honest, I felt like Beltway is at a point, and I love Ryan. He's a very smart guy. Ryan, Grimes is the owner of they're in the position that they're going to be successful whether I'm there or not. I feel like I made the impact that I needed to make there. And moving forward, not that I couldn't help, you know what I mean? I don't never downplay myself like that, but I don't know. I just felt like there's always a next chapter. And I don't want to say that I get bored, but I don't know. I like
Bored.
to do, I like to do different things. And it just got to the point where it just, I felt like I was staying for the people because I do love the people there. There's an amazing team. I love all of them. And it was hard to go. And especially how I did it. I did what was best for Beltway, not for me. So I literally took a week off. Ryan said, take a week off, make sure this is what you want to do. Ryan was always supportive of me, as he was the whole time that we've been friends and I've known him. And I went back and I was like, my feeling hasn't changed. And we're getting ready to go in the summer. So rather than me being like, oh, hey, I'm leaving on this day, and we turn it into some sad, somber thing, we just ripped the Band-Aid off.
Yeah, that's pretty smart. And let me, did a lot of that have to do with what was going on in I know your mom's been sick, right? Is she getting any better? Did that play? I'm sure that had to play a role in it.
Oh, it definitely did, man. Stress, a lot of stress. And, and I appreciate Ryan for understanding because, the last year to say that I've lost weight. I mean, dude, like I haven't weighed under 200 pounds since high school, man.
Yeah. You look sexy.
Yeah. Thank you. The move, I moved an hour away from where I used to live. So my commute to places is a lot further. Even where I'm coaching right now, where I live in Maryland, I'm coaching on the Eastern Shore. So I drive an hour plus each way every day, which I really don't mind, to be honest. And then my mom with stage 4 lung cancer, and my mom's cancer is not treatable. They're not treating her for her to cure it. They're treating her for quality of life. And I've already lost my father. I'm 41, and the sad realization is I'm going to be in my 40s and not have either one of my parents at some point. So I'm just trying to spend every moment that I possibly can with her. And me and my mom are tight, having to take her to different appointments all the time. So, it gets to be a lot. And at the same time, I've been with my wife forever. I've actually married the same woman twice. And, me and my wife, it seemed like, not intentionally, but we were putting each other last. I was putting, financing this family and business and taking care of this, taking care of that. Oh, gotta take my mom here. And she's, hey, I gotta take care of the house. I gotta take care of the kids. I gotta do this. And then at the end, it was like nothing left for each other. And we started feeling that strain. And it finally got to the point where we were like, hey, like, what are we going to do? And I'm like, well, I love you. I don't want anybody else. She's like, I love you. I don't want anybody else. And I'm like, well, what are we going to do? You know what I mean? And we just had to really start, making a conscious effort to put more time into our marriage, and not just being mom and dad, but being husband and wife. And sometimes that's just, it happens, and that's okay. But as long as you recognize the problem, don't act like it's not a thing, especially in the HVAC or the trades in general. The divorce rate, the drug use rate, all that kind of stuff is extremely high. It's okay to have that problem, but recognize and fucking try to fix it. Don't sit around like you can't see, because then you're part of the problem, not the solution.
Man, I'm sure that's going to resonate with a lot of people for sure. It's funny you say that about, because sometimes couples can be good with the kids, right? And they're raising kids and they're busy raising kids and they're busy raising kids. And then it's the kids and the kids and the kids. And then, you hear like, it's like, okay, well, now the kids are a little bit older and like, and they took up so much of your time. And now it's another ballgame. Now it's like, well, now we got to work on us. Like people have been married for 15, 20 years. And then they're like, well, we raised all the kids. Like now we got to work. So it's like free time. Actually, it's funny because Dana and I have actually had, like a lot of time. We've had more time now because the kids are a little bit older, right? My youngest is going to be 12. So it does, you do have to focus on that. It's probably hard to admit it. It's probably hard for couples to admit like, hey, like we got to work on us, it's good of you to say it, Yeah,
because people get a new normal and they just accept that. Well, that what we were doing, neither one of us were happy. So why would we let that become the new norm? You know what I mean? So you got to try to change it. And, and not to get down like some preaching thing. But even though that, I'm an influencer, a podcaster, you're doing the same thing. And we go on and we're on these fucking phones. And I get it, but these can be your best friend and your worst fucking enemy at the same time. And now when I come home, I put this motherfucker down because it was consuming me and I wasn't getting anything accomplished. So now that I've been more disciplined and structured in my time, I'm getting more done, whether it's work or business wise. And I got more time for my family, and the other thing with people's relationships is you're always comparing yourself to somebody else. Fucking stop. It's fake. It's not real. Everybody's happy on social media and you see them in real life and they're miserable fucks. Worry about yourself. Make sure that you and your family are happy and don't worry about people on social media, man. Like I know it's easier said than done. And I'm not saying that I've never been guilty of it, but stop comparing yourself to other people, man. Make you and your circle happy. That's all you need to worry about. Care about those people. Who gives a fuck about what other people think?
Strong words. And I think in the trades in general and sales, man, I will tell you, long hours. I was talking to Joe Downey on here he has a group called In-Home Sales Professionals.
Yeah.
And we were talking about how, bro, like you're, especially in our trade, right? You're in houses sometimes until ungodly hours. You're in building, like hell, if you're on call or you're working that night, dude, I remember like there were points in time where I wasn't even home. I remember this, like in the summers, like I'm walking to my door at 11:30 at night, every night. I'm gone at 9 a.m. I'm back at 11:30 p.m. And then I remember working one summer where I worked 52 straight days. I had one day off in 52 days. And I did that to myself, of course, but it's true. And it can definitely strain, what can also help, like not being there all the time, but it can definitely strain a marriage. It can definitely strain a relationship, and it definitely strains relationships with people. And you're right. The drug addiction and the alcoholism and the rampant, whatever it is, the vices are very rampant in our field. We've seen it. We've seen guys go down. It is crazy. And you're right, on the phone, it's like, put it away. And you're right. It's like the best thing and the worst thing that like ever happened. And unfortunately, like for people like you and I, where we're also keeping up a social media presence, then we're sort of even more attached to it. And I find myself like, I need to stay busy regardless. I have to. All right. And my daughter says this to me. My oldest daughter says this to me all the time. She's like, Dad, I know what you're doing. You just are always fending off the demon. You're always fending off the depression. You're always fending off the anxiety. You're always fending off. You're always fighting like whatever's coming at you, and you keeping busy is like your like drug. Like, dude, I'm playing gigs like 2 days a week. I'm freaking doing this another night a week. I'm working full time. I'm on the board of TACA. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna keep doing that, and I'm gonna stay. But I'm still gonna keep those relationships strong with with my family, because you're right. You have to keep those strong, and I do. And I always told, and actually my nickname's the Dad Father. My kids like literally nickname me the Dad Father, which I think is really cool. Man,
It is awesome.
It is pretty cool. Speaking of which, by the way, talking about being late at night and like couples fighting and stuff like that. Have you ever been in a house where like a couple has like gone at each other's like throats, like maybe even talking about whether or not they're going to do the repair or the replacement or whatever it is, and they've gone at each other? Dude, I gotta go ahead.
Oh, bro, dude, I went into this house and, system was old. The people had bought the house. They lived there for a little less than a year. So if you're in sales, okay, so they have no commitment to that system because they didn't buy it. They don't give a fuck about it. They just want it to work. So this thing was, R22, 20 years old, blah, blah, blah. I had met the wife when I went in, but I was talking to the husband more. He came outside. He was talking to me. He was actually cool. But, I think like the compressor had died. And I gave him, I said, well, sadly, brother, you don't have a good option here. You know what I mean? Gave him the whole spiel. And we walked in and we had talked to the wife, and I told him, I said, Sally, we're kind of at that replacement phase. And she's like, oh, okay, get some prices. I'm like, yeah, no worries. Yeah, I'm like, let me go grab my stuff. We'll work this up. And I was just talking to the husband while the husband was like, yeah, I just can't do it right now. We're going to have to wait. And we were in the other room. And I said, I went to like use the bathroom or something real fast. And when I was walking out, the wife was like, so when are you guys going to be able to put it in? And I was like, well, I think your husband's going to wait. And she was like, bullshit, you cheap motherfucker. She gets up, hops up off the couch and walks in the room. And she's like, I'm not going to spend another motherfucking night in this house without no AC because you want to be a cheap mother. She was going off. Like they were in there arguing. I was like, I can step outside. And she's like, no, you stay right where you are. I'm like, oh shit. And they went at it for like 10 minutes. But let's just say they bought a nice system that night.
Oh, and, they say 80% of the decisions in the household, and especially in our field, 80% of the decisions are made by the wife. The wife will make the determining factor as to whether or not they're going to replace the unit or not.
Oh, that's why I agree. That's why when, you go and they're like, it's just the husband. I'm like, fuck.
Chris said, sup players and pimps. I like that.
What's up?
I'm going to rename this podcast the Players and Pimps podcast. Co-hosted with Gil and Everett. So check this out, dude. I was in this house. And dude, this guy, okay. I walk in, the wife and the husband are divorced. They're divorced. They're not even, or at least I think they're divorced. He like came by, clearly wasn't always living there. I don't know. It was strained. It was weird. Right. And then like the system's down and all this other stuff. Right. And he is standing back. She's going, I want this. And she's all sassy. She's like, I want this and I want this. And no, we getting the new one and we doing this and we doing that. And then he's standing in the background going like, oh yeah. You gonna pay? You gonna pay for this? Like he was, and then he starts laying into her, bro. I'm talking. He starts literally insulting her to a point where I was uncomfortable. He was like, "Yeah, well, of course she going to, because she ain't got a nickel to her name and blah 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 and all this other stuff." And then she's like, "No, that's what we're gonna do." Oh yeah, we are. And by the way, you owe me this and you owe me that and you owe me. And bro, I'm telling you, back and forth. Meanwhile, she's picking out home automation stuff too. She's not just picking out HVAC stuff. She's literally picking out all the stuff that she wants, all the cameras in the house that she's going to pay for, that we're going to install, and the doorbell and the floodlight on the thing and everything. Bro, it was crazy. And when I tell you, like, I felt so uncomfortable because this guy, I think, dude, he might have called her a bitch, like right to her face, like right then and there. I mean, you know, the financing cleared, so
hey, whatever works. So I do have another one, but I didn't get to witness it, but I got to see how it started. This was as a service tech. I was just finishing up, and I don't know what happened, but I guess the wife had found out like that the husband was cheating on her, and she kicked in the door like she was fucking RoboCop, boy. I mean, boom. And she's like, you motherfucker. And he's like, what are you talking about? And she's like, oh, you're going to cheat on me and just act like it didn't happen? How the fuck long's it been going on, Todd? And I was like, and we had got done. I was like, all right, man, you're all good to go. I'll see y'all later. And I ended up walking out. But when I was literally putting my stuff back in the fucking van, I could hear them inside screaming. So part of me wishes I would have stayed in there because, yeah, she came in hot and she was kind of a bitch. So no wonder he cheated, but still, just saying, putting my 2 cents in. But
have you ever had an advance? Like, have you ever been in a house where somebody made an advance on you?
Well, I told you the one story about the guy was going to tip me by letting me bang his wife.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. That was you that told that story. Yeah.
And then I also had, and I wish, so Mo is kind of like my protege, like a little brother, son to me that works for Beltway now. But years ago when we were at another company, we would go to this, like, it's called Compass Point. I got to be careful what I say because this lady follows me. But she was a divorcee. Her husband had left for a younger chick and literally lived in the neighborhood. So she was living in this multi-million-dollar house while her husband was still paying for it. And he just bought another one with a 20-year-old chick or whatever. But I would go there. She would always want me to go do the maintenances and whatever it was, she would always want me. And me and Mo went there one day up in the attic, and Mo standing right next to me. We just came out of the attic, sweating balls, 100 degrees outside in the summer. And she goes, you can take a shower here if you want. And Mo was like, she ain't talking to me, bro. She's talking to you. And I was like, and she was like, yeah, she's like, you can take this shower over here. She's like, if you want, you can follow me. I'll take you in there. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm like, I'm all right. I'm like, I appreciate it. I'm like, I'm getting the fuck outside, man. Like, I gotta go. And we walked outside, and Mo was like, dude, that chick totally wanted your ding dong, Gil. Like, you want me to go get the ticket signed? I'm like, maybe, because I'm not trying to put myself in some weird predicament. You know what I mean?
Dude, this happened literally a couple of weeks ago, and I couldn't understand it. So one of the techs was at a house. It was nearby where I was at. I pop in. I hadn't done any of these. You know what I mean? I'm mostly in the office, right? So I was like, Chris says, wait, was she hot?
And I just said, not really, LOL. She's a good person. Okay? She's a good person.
Dude, I get there. The guy's got like I don't know if it's a priest outfit or something like that, but like something with the Catholic Church. Anyway, so it's there. I see it hanging up. The guy is awesome. He's just a cool guy. I'm like talking to the guy. I went out, like, I'm looking at everything. He's got problems going here, there, and everywhere, right? So all right, we'll go outside, and I'm like, yeah, I'll go work everything up for you. Like, I don't know. I went in my truck, and the tech stayed in there, right? Dude, 15 minutes. I go back in the house. The tech comes out and he goes, dude, we gotta go. We gotta go. I'm like, what happened? He goes, no, dude, you don't understand. This guy just went civil. Like, he just literally just kicked me out and said goodbye. And I'm like, why? He offered, I had a bunch of insulation on me, right, from the attic. And he was like, same thing. He goes, that's what it reminded me of. He goes, why don't you go shower? Or he offered me a shower. I'm like, no, it's okay. I'm like, it's a weird offer, but like, it's fine.
Especially
like,
man to man.
Yeah, it was weird. Okay, go shower like in your house. Like, I don't think I need your shower, but that's cool. So I clean off and then I go outside. Anyway, come, dude. I knock on the door because the guy's like, no, we got to get out of here. I'm like, hang on. I'm like, this was a very friendly conversation. I go back, I knock on the door. Guy comes out, goes, I paid my bill. Get out of here. To this day, I have no idea what happened. No, nothing. No clue. Something transpired. Something transpired in that very short period of time. No idea. No idea. And I got to tell you, in all of my years, dude, I mean, like thousands and thousands of calls. That's never ever happened. Thousands of calls. I cannot think of a time where it was like a door slammed on your face where I didn't even do anything. I just walked back to go. Yeah.
I kind of like those people like that. The ones that they're pissed off at the world and don't really know why. And I just keep killing them with kindness, and they get angry, but they can't say anything because I haven't been ignorant to them. I'm just like, oh, I'm sorry you feel that way. Hope your day gets better. Can I make your day better? What can I do to make your day better? But they're like, this motherfucker. Like, God, shut your mouth. I had a lady today. Matter of fact, it was today. Older lady, I get it. It happens. She 100% shit her pants while walking in front of me. There's no way she did not shit her pants. It smelled like something died. And I was, what's up, Mr. Ian, the HR guy?
He says, I approve of killing with kindness. Well, yeah. Good. Thanks, Ian. I appreciate that.
But that lady definitely shit her pants, though. I'm just saying.
Wow. Can you imagine that? Like shitting your pants while the technician or sales rep's in your house? Like literally shitting your pants? Speaking of which, you know what? I'm going to be vulnerable here. I'm going to tell a story about myself.
Please tell me that you shit in your pants.
Almost. Almost. So I went to this house. Amazing couple, super cool. I'll still remember their last name. Still remember. Okay. It was a boiler. Okay. And it might have been an oil to gas conversion. I forget. They were in a really nice town. It was like the smaller house part of the town, but very nice town. They were like school teachers, really cool. I'm sitting there now, when, it's cold or really hot out, like we're on the road all the time. And then, you eat and then like you go and you run calls and you try to shove food in your mouth in between like calls and shit like that. So I'm sitting at the dining room table where I'm about to go over everything, quote the job or whatever it was. And they're sitting there. I got their attention and everything. And, I'm like, okay. There's no way in the world, right, that I'm going to have to figure something out. And I got up and I said, would you excuse me for a minute? And like, I have a rule. Like, unless there's like no shot that I'm able to make it somewhere, I'm in the house. I'm like, I'm not going in this house, dude. They're watching me go out the front door. They're like, where is this guy going? I literally leave. I walk out the front door. Oh man, one sec. I'll be right back. I freaking book it. I leave my stuff there, but I grab my truck, right? I go, I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm trying to find anywhere, right? Dude, the library was open. So I'm like, okay. And I'm like, I walk through the library. I'm like, can't be that hard. Just walk in. It's probably right there, right? I walk in. I'm looking around. I'm like, what the? Restrooms, basement. Okay. I walk down to the basement. I go, it's locked. I'm like, oh my God. I go to the librarian. I'm like, hey, okay, fine. Key to the bathroom. I drive back to the house. This is like 15, 20 minutes go by, right? I go back to the house. As I'm walking in, they're like, hey, are you okay? Are you okay? I'm like, you know how it is. Oh man, it rains, it pours. My gosh, my life. Jeez Louise. Where were we? I sold the boiler.
That's hilarious.
Oh man. Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah, I had an installer used to work for me. That I went out to look at the job, and we were just down, and there's a nice bathroom in there. That lady already said, hey, you guys are more than welcome to use this, like whatever. Awesome customer, gave us like lunch, like some chicken salad that was fucking money. Anyway, we're outside, job's almost done. I want to say it's like, I don't know, maybe like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And
that's a good job. You've done it 1 o'clock, man.
Yeah, it was like a heat pumps swap out or whatever. It wasn't anything crazy. So anyway, the office calls, I'm talking to the office, and he's like, I gotta go to the bathroom. I'm like, all right, man. I look over and I see him hop up into the back of the box truck, and I'm like, yeah. And then I see him walk back out, and I'm like, hold on a second. I'm like, I'll call you right back. And I was like, did you just shit in the back of my truck? And he was like, what? I was like, did you just shit in the back of my van? And he was like, maybe. I was like, why?
My side hurts, man.
Yeah, I was like, why? I was like, you could have went downstairs. And he was like, oh, no, it's just weird. I'm like, so you go shit in a bucket in the back of the van, you sick fuck? I'm like, I get it in a pinch and you have nothing else to do. I'm like, but not by choice, you fucking goober. What are you doing?
Oh, my God, dude. What an idiot.
Yeah. Dude. And I said on the phone, I'm just literally sitting there talking to the office, and I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, do that. And I'm like, hold on a second. I'm like, let me call you back. He's
up,
the same
Phil?
guy that was What up, Phil?
Dude, Chris says, dude tripping balls came to the door wearing some see-through leotard, cocking balls out in the open. I said, fuck you, dude. Put a towel on. He was cool after that.
Chris, you told nobody. You said you weren't going to say anything about that story, all right? It was a bad day. I didn't mean to eat that many mushrooms.
Oh, man. Oh, Felipe Grigo. Oh, Phil, dude. Phil has some fucking stories. On the first podcast that I ever did, that was like with a person, Phil told this story about a haunting. And I'm telling you, dude, you have to listen to this story. I'm going to tell it in my way. He's at the table. There's arguments going on, whatever it is. They're trying to figure out whether they want to do the job. I mean, whatever, blah, 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 right? All of a sudden, the husband comes up and he goes like this and he slams his hand down on the table and he goes, we're not doing this. We're getting other quotes. That's it. And as he slammed his hand down on the table, right, the light bulb above their heads in the kitchen burst and popped. And then, like, it was the craziest thing he'd ever seen. And he was like, earlier on in the conversation, they kept yelling, Mom, stop. Mom, would you just stop? Like, they're yelling up the stairs. And because he kept hearing stuff going on up there. And they're like, he's like, is your mom, like, is she sick? Whatever. Like, they're like, no, my mom's dead. But she, like, makes all this noise up there all the time. Like, bro, crazy.
I think I watched that episode when he said that.
Oh,
because
really?
I want to say I heard that. Speaking of that, Phil, you got to come on my show one time, man. I'll get you to come on, buddy.
To answer your question, yes, Phil, you go on a show. Chris asked, so what platform is everybody watching? Yes, there's a YouTube chat. There's also a Facebook live chat, and there's a lot of people that chime in on Facebook. And I say, unfortunately, but it just is what it is. I get most of the people, I think, just, they see my feed on Facebook, they click in, and they, it is what it is. I'm not as super famous as Mr. Gil Cavey yet, so I don't have the YouTube following. I've seen it. It's crazy when you actually go into like a live episode with Gil, because like on his YouTube chat, he gets like 30 people every episode, and like minimum like 25 people. And what's even crazier is that they do, which is really cool for our industry. And I didn't even know about this until after my podcast with the Misfits of HVAC, where you guys do a live hangout. You just do a hangout. You don't even do a podcast. You just do a hangout where you click and then people just join, and then you guys just shoot the shit. And, Jen Manzo is telling me, HVA Chicks, Manzo, Misfits at HVAC, and every other podcast out there. She was telling me that it's like a social, it's very social. And I'm very much a part of this social group, but I also feel a little bit outside of it. And I'll tell you, it's taken a little bit of time for people to, because they see sales tales, and really it could have been sales and service tales, but the reality is like it just sounded better to put sales tales, and that's fine. Like, and I also didn't want to limit it. I really wanted getting in-home sales reps and everything else. And I actually also believe that everything is a sale. So everything we do is sales. So even if you're selling a service, it's a sale. So, but it took me a minute because I would post in like her group, and then they would be like, fuck this guy. Who the fuck is he? We don't need a fucking mother salesman in here. I'm like, bro, I'm a 15-year veteran in HVAC. Like, watch an episode. And then they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. They're all, to them, like, sales is a dirty word. It's just, it's get over it, man. You know what I mean? Like, it's
dude, we're so past it. You've helped so many people also with like resources and people that you've had on the podcast to really help them through that. Like, and like, dude, and we talked about this, and it was a scandalous sort of topic, and it came up in the podcast. Thank you, Chris. Chris said, I'm a fan of the energy and I'll be looking for your stuff everywhere. I appreciate you, bro. So like, we had a little back and forth about like, okay, sales and service and, you know, whatever. And companies like, you know, making these guys like sell and stuff like that. And my advice is always the same. Like, if you work for a company, you want to be a fix-it guy, please go be a fix-it guy. Don't work for those companies that they require you to perform some sort of, you know, sale. If you just want to fix stuff, like, dude, there's so many companies out. There's a shortage of tradesmen in our industry, the likes of which in the next 5 years is going to be almost insurmountable how many tradesmen are needed. So you can definitely find yourself. Unfortunately, you know, you come out of trade school, you need a job, you find the companies that are, you probably know the brand names of the most. And those happen to be, a lot of those happen to be some of the more salesy companies.
Yeah. And I agree with that, but I want to say this to all the people that say, I'm a fix-it guy. That's fine wanting to fix. I want to fix things. I consider myself a very good technical person, and if I can fix something, I will. But then again, it's not my decision what I do. Me as the expert, I'm supposed to provide the options to the customer. They'll tell me what they want to do. And for the fix-it people, when you go out and you change that capacitor and you fucking roll, I hate to break it to you, you're not doing what's best for the customer. You're doing 100%. What's best for you. 100%. So that's the discussion we have to have. I get it. You can offer things honestly. The way that I teach these guys to do, I always say, I want to make sure the system is safe, it's efficient as possible, and I want to bring anything that is not, you know, out of manufacturer specification to your attention. And that's what we do. I say, list everything. Show it to the customer. If they're like, yeah, I don't want to do any of that, okay. But guess what? If they call back 2 weeks later and one of those caused an issue, you just validate it yourself. Don't you think they're going to believe you next time? Like, you can do it honestly. The system isn't dishonest. The person is.
Dude, I love that.
So don't be dishonest.
The system isn't dishonest. The person is. Chris says, and this is a very good compliment to you. He says, I was that way until I started watching Gil and Kelly back in the day. We sell something every day. I never looked at it any different than a used car salesman. Yeah, it's good. It's good. It tracks.
Chris is good people.
Yeah, that's a good quote though. I like that quote, what you just said. Like, the system's not crooked like you are, you know?
Yeah. You know, and then all the people, and all the people, and I won't say names, even though it sometimes on my show, I think I'm going to, is some of these sales coaches out there. And I think that's part of what made me want to help coach people, is because I'm not them. The ones that are, you know, look at my Lamborghini, man. I got the biggest dick in the world, man. Look at this. And it's just, they're giving all this flashy stuff and they're selling a pipe dream. You know, they do a one-day class. They hand out the same bullshit. They don't care if that stuff ever gets implemented. And I just think it's bullshit. And some of them are good at what they do. I'm not saying they're not good at what they do. I just don't like how they go about it. And that's just not me.
Yeah. Okay. So, and I know that we've spent a good amount of time on a couple of podcasts talking about this, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. Let me tell you how that makes, as a sales coach that I do every day, okay, that gets me sort of infuriated, right? Because here's what happens. And this happened. And, Landon had said something in some groups and some other people had said something in some groups. And it was like, oh yeah, be careful of all these gurus or whatever. Bro, let me tell you something. It sheds such a bad light on things that then when somebody who's highly ethical and very successful at what he does tries to actually, talk to a company, it's actually driving people into only doing Nexstar, only doing SGI, and only doing the really expensive coaching programs because they're afraid that someone's actually going to take advantage of them. When I know personally 3 to 4 different people who are amazing independent coaches. And so it really did. They kind of ruined the whole independent coach game for people that actually wanted to, that are good at it regardless. Anyway.
Yeah.
I digress.
Me too.
Gil, let me ask you a question. I ask this question on every podcast and you know it. You know this question. What is one interaction, one call that you ran, a customer that lives with you wherever you go? You take this person everywhere.
So this one is not really a funny story, more of a sentimental one.
Well, that's typically what these are. Typically, these are the sentimental ones, the meaningful ones. For me, it's definitely a very sentimental one. So
yeah. So it had to happen a couple of times, but the first one, God rest her soul, Miss Joyce. She was a 87-year-old woman. I had went out, and this is probably, Christ, I'm talking, 16 years ago. But I'll never forget her. I would go and I did a call one time and we just kind of clicked and talking, and her kids lived out of state and she was just a lonely lady. And I would sit there and talk to her. It got to the point where she used to call in for calls just for me to sit there and talk to her and have lunch. And I'm talking, we did this for a couple of years. It went, and, I'd show her pictures of my kids and, all that kind of stuff. Granted, at that time, only the boys were around. My daughters weren't thought of yet, but, she ended up getting sick and I would play chess with her, all this kind of stuff. Long story short, she ended up getting sick and I went and I visited her in the hospital. And after she passed away, I ended up going to her funeral and her viewing, and her son and her daughter came up to me and they said, Gil, we just want you to know, first of all, it's a pleasure to meet you. You have no idea how much my mom would talk about you, and you have no idea how much you meant to her. And it kind of crushed me, and I will never, ever forget that woman, ever. And because of that, I had 2 other ones. Mr. Bernard, a World War II veteran. I would go listen to his stories and the shit that he would tell me about World War II, flying over the English Channel and wrecking a plane. The 2 people with him died. He had to play dead to the Japanese, and the guy got close enough. He said he pulled his sidearm and shot him in the face. The stories that he would tell, so Miss Joyce, I'll never forget, but because of that, I had 2 others experiences, not quite as in-depth as her, but I think that's why when I podcast, I love just hearing people's stories. I just love to get to know people and hear their story. And I'll never, ever forget Miss Joyce. I learned as much from that the relationship I had with that 87, 88-year-old woman than I've had with some of my best friends that I've known my whole life. I'll never forget that woman.
Wow. It's funny to think that a call into a service company led to an end of life friendship.
Yeah. Matter of fact, the chessboard that me and her would play, I still have it. The son gave it to me when I went to the viewing, not the funeral. I stayed there and I was there the whole, it was starting to get awkward because I didn't know everybody, but I wanted to pay my respects. And I met the son and the daughter and I said, hey, I'm going to get ready to leave here soon, but I'll be at the funeral tomorrow. I just want to, I confirmed the arrangements of where it was. And he told me and he said, hey, hold on 1 second before you leave. I got something for you. I'm like, all right, cool. I thought he was going to give me a picture or something, to be honest, which he did, but he gave me that chessboard and he said, I couldn't think of anybody else to have this except for you. And
That's awesome.
I still have it. It's in a box. My basement's still wrecked, but it's in one of those boxes because I still have it.
Wow. That brought me back all the way to like when I first started. And I told this story. This is actually not about a customer, but it is about perseverance and how people can be wrong. When I first started in this industry, if Phil's still watching, he'll know this story. When I first started in this industry, brandy new, didn't know the industry. And I had this manager who was an old school guy. This guy laid into me. He beat the shit out of me. He really, really beat the shit out of me. And when I say this, I remember I went 0 for 11. So I started backwards, right? Yes, Bill Gray. I started backwards. I started in sales, learning months I spent in a classroom learning how to do everything, all the load calcs and everything else. And like, that's how I learned in this business. I had to go backwards to the master license. And that didn't start first. Most people start from tech. I went the other direction. Right. But they want to put together a sales team. And I was like, okay, cool. Let me get involved. Well, I went 0 for 11, my first 11 calls. Okay. Now, you know that I've had a tremendous amount of success in my career. Right. And, but my beginnings were really, really bad. And I remember having a conversation with him and he said, Gil, I'll never forget this. He goes, you're in the wrong fucking business. You know that? You're in the wrong business. Man, I don't know what to tell you. You know what? I don't think it's going to work. You're in the wrong fucking business. And like, imagine me like I got little tiny baby kids and I'm like, oh my gosh, like my heart's pounding. I'm like, well, shit. I'm like, fuck, my boss just basically told me to go fuck myself. Right. And I'm like, all right, I got a choice here. I got a choice to fucking give up or be like, you know what? Let's go. And I'll tell you what, man, I went into his office like the next day and I stood as that he was a real pompous kind of guy. I stood in front of his desk, bro. And I was like, hey, I want to let you know something. I'm here and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do as best as I fucking can for as long as I can. I'm going to do my damnedest. I'm telling you, I'm not going anywhere. And that was my commitment right then and there. And wouldn't you know, it turned out pretty well after a while, but 0 for 11 and getting told that you shouldn't do this. And now, you know, I run a whole whole sales organization and I've got all the plaques and all the rings and all the stuff. And it's pretty cool, man. I mean, the cool to get, get a plaque that says, number 11 sales rep and, through ACA or whatever. It was just cool. Anyway. Yes. Chris found the I don't know why he wanted to go from, I guess there was nobody else in the YouTube chat. So he decided to go to Facebook, but
yeah, he was the only one commenting. He kept seeing us talk about other people. And Chris is probably like, who the fuck? Yeah. Hey, Tony, have you ever,
Tony says, have you ever shit in a bucket in the back of a truck or you've only done sales? I believe I never had to shit in the back. I never had to shit in the back. I've had to shit. I don't think I actually have shit in the back of a truck. Gil, have you shat in the back of a truck?
No, I've always found other options to not shit in my truck. But to his other one, I need to hear the air scrubber pitch before I decide to follow him or not. Hey, Tony, man, you ever had a summer day where you just walk outside and you take a deep breath and you really get that fresh air and you're like, well, what if I told you I can give you that in your house? You can have it every day. You don't got to worry about it being summertime.
Sold.
Yeah. Give me your money, bitch.
HR guy says sometimes employees need to be told to fuck off. Just have to be careful how you do it. So yeah, we know this, Ian. When there's a proper way to say this, I'll be you in explaining this. Well, you could tell them to fuck off, but you have to be aware of OSHA regulation 5.6.4 and all the other boring shit too. Stop being so boring, Ian.
Hey, but that's what he does, and Ian's very good, and he helped us with a lot of headaches at Beltway. We'd always call him and be like, cool. Yeah, hey, we got this situation. What do we do? And he'd be like, oh, do this, this, and this. So anybody out there, if you are in that company and you do not have your processes for HR in place, you should definitely give Ian a call. Like, he will save your ass. I promise you.
Ian,
So-
there's a little space on the top right of my screen over here. It could say the HR guy for the right price.
He said, I invite you to reconsider your life choices.
Yeah. So Gil, funniest shit that's happened to you in the house. Funniest thing ever.
Oh man.
Or with an employee, or maybe on a ride along.
Let's see. So trying to think of funniest. I don't know why some awkward shit's coming to my head.
Ooh, yeah, go awkward.
So one, I would go, and I'd been there a couple of times, the older couple, and the woman was apparently a painter. And I'd been there like 6 or 7 times over the years. They've been a long-term customer. And this is when I was a service tech. And in the basement, like, I'm working on the furnace. Never forget, it was a, Carrier Infinity system, was kind of like top of the line at the time. And I'm going through checking everything, and there's a room over here, and normally that door is closed. Well, it's open, and I do know that's her painting room. Dude, there's a early 20-year-old girl sitting on a stool, butt fucking naked. And
Wait,
this woman,
butt fucking, or she was just naked?
she's butt naked. The old woman is painting her. And let me just tell you this, it was the longest fucking maintenance I've ever done in my life. Because I'm just sitting there like, and the girl was good looking girl too. So I'm like, holy shit. Like, I just sat there and watched it. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, and the girl who was naked, like, she knew that I was looking. Like, she there's no way she could not have known. The old woman didn't know. And then finally I'm looking at I'm like, fuck, I can't stay here anymore, man. So otherwise I'm gonna have to beat off and get it over with or something. But the other one is actually when I was at Beltway.
Hold on. Phil says, Tony Doney, Mr. Customer, the air scrubber will remove the shit smell from the back of this truck.
That's funny. That's funny.
Oh man.
There you go. There's your sales pitch.
Hey,
we had another one.
You know this smell you got back here? It's gonna take care of all of it. All right.
Yeah. That turd's gonna be long gone. But yeah, we had another one guy, super cool customer. The guy had maybe he's just blessed with a big old cock. I don't know, but dude, the guy must have been eating his Blue Chew or something, because he's down there just having a conversation, and it's not just me.
Like through his pants, like he's.
Oh, dude, yeah, it's just like, and he's standing. We have one guy who Levitt doesn't work anymore, but a guy I wish Levitt was watching, because he would confirm this story. And like, the guy's right here, and Levitt's like leaning down, so the guy's dick is like maybe a foot away, and I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to be the boss there, and I'm trying to keep it together and not just start cracking up laughing, like, like, put your dick away, sir. And it would happen several times, and it was an inside joke that we would make, and I'm like, hey man, the old man's packing some heat, give him, what the fuck, it's called good. And he was a nice guy, like, he was the sweetest dude. So that's what, it wasn't like he was a shitbag or nothing, but yeah. And that happened several times. That wasn't just one time. So I was like, yeah, maybe his Blue Chew's kicking in, man, and he's just taking that bitch a little early. I don't know.
Dude, that reminds me of this house that I went into where there was this, like, it was like an older couple. I think probably, I want to say she was early 60s, maybe late 50s. That's what I want to say, right? And he's there, and they're like super cool, and I could tell they're kind of like whatever. And they're pretty well off or whatever. And she's wearing like real fit, like, really nice house, and wearing like really fit, like, yoga pants and shit like that. And she's standing there, and then she just puts her leg up on the counter like this, And then she's like stretching like this and just moving back and forth in like a humping motion. But like while she's having a very serious conversation with me, as if she's in the middle of her yoga lesson. And like she was clearly doing this as a performance, right? And I'm like, are there upside down pineapples in here? Like what is going on? Chris says a gilf. Yeah. I guess maybe she was a gilf. There have definitely been it is always interesting the generational differences between, like, let's say in their 70s now, they're still active, they're still whatever, and then like going all the way down through like millennials and then even Gen Z at this point in time. It is very interesting because I always found, we did a lot of senior citizens. I always found that a lot of seniors in their 70s would get like, they would look really nice and presentable, and the house would be like vacuumed and everything. Like when we got there, like, in other words, like they always made sure that they looked really nice and everything. It's amazing to me. Like it was almost like a formality, maybe, I don't know. But I think as you like gone down like the line, like I've got, I mean, I feel like I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong, but like Gen Xers are like, fuck you. I don't give a fuck what you think. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
like
sweatpants,
fucking dude. I always love those houses where it smelled like smoke inside. Like, my dad smoked growing up as a kid. And like, he shouldn't have, like, my mom had problems with her lungs, but like, he would be like, and every fucking time he'd be like smoking in the basement. Right. And he like thinks that smoke doesn't travel like, up. And then like, my mom would be like, and then my dad would be like, oh, it's from Brooklyn. He's like, I'm not fucking smoking. What are you talking about? We don't fucking smoke. I'm not fucking smoking. I'm not fucking smoking. Oh, you're fucking crazy. Like that was like every day in my house. Right. So like, I think like I could never own or want a house that like smelled like smoke, but like when I tell me that you don't go into houses, having smoked or whatever, you don't go into houses now or in the past where it smells like smoke inside and they're smoking inside, and there's not something very like warm and inviting about it for some reason. It brings me nostalgia.
I'm a smoker, but I don't smoke in my house.
No one does anymore. But every once in a while, though, you'll go in and that house will be fucking smoked in like no problem.
Oh, yeah. You go to these people's house and it's just like, and it's funny, as a smoker, like normally as a smoker, you don't smell it, like somebody who doesn't smoke. But I do. And you go into those houses, I'm like, I'm home, mommy. You know what I mean? Because my mom smoked, growing up. My dad smoked, but I never saw him smoke. He quit before I was born. But my mom always smoked in the house. She didn't give a fuck. So she would smoke here if I let her, and I tell her no. So she sits in the garage all day and just fucking chain smokes.
What's the biggest curveball you've ever been thrown? Like in a house where you were like you thought something and you were like, whoa, wait a minute. Nope.
Ooh.
I'll tell you what, do you need a second to think about it? Because I can tell you right now, I went into a house that literally was dilapidated to the point where it smelled like, dude, they needed like 7 air scrubbers. Okay. It smelled so bad. It smelled like fucking, like I'm talking like mold and mildew to the point where I didn't even want to sit down. It was disgusting. They were nice people-ish. Right. But
I call that Bigfoot's dick.
Oh, dude, it was so bad. And I was like, oh, I got to sit. I went to sit on the edge of the couch because I didn't want to sit on the couch because I'm like, dude, my eyes are going to water. Like everything fucking sucks. Right. I'm like, dude, it was fucking crazy. And I like literally like, I actually did pitch an air scrubber or like a air cleaner. And they were like, no, we're good. We don't need that. I'm like, fuck, yes, you do. You really need this. You need this. You don't know you're living in mold. There's it's fucking mold, right, dude? They fucking stroked a check for like $16,000. I was like, whoa. I mean, I quoted everything, and they went with like the tippy top option. I was like, oh, okay. I mean, that's cool. Curveball.
Yeah, she needs a match. Well, so in that situation, to be similar, I had a
Allison says, Phil Grego, he knows from experience that shit smell doesn't come out. No, Allison, it does not come out.
That's funny. Had this lady in Brooklyn Maryland, so it's kind of like
different Brooklyn. Okay.
Yeah, different Brooklyn.
Not this Brooklyn.
Yeah, no. Our sadly our Brooklyn's probably shittier, but anyway, this lady is in a row home. She's in the N unit. House is fucking disgusting. It's gross. There was a hole in the fucking wall. I could see outside from inside, and it wasn't a window.
It was a fresh air intake.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
And her system ended up being bad, and she's like, well, if I got to replace it, and I was thinking like, oh well, I'm gonna offer her cheaper options. She don't have much, and I started going through the cheap stuff, and she goes, you don't have anything nicer? She's like, I'm a Cadillac girl, and I was like, okay. So same situation. She picked my top option, and I want to say it was like 16, 17 grand, same ballpark. And I said, hey, well, how would you, I assumed, I said, so how would you be financing this? And she goes, honey, I'm not financing this. Hold on a second.
Straight cash, homie.
Walks upstairs, comes downstairs like a fucking Payless shoebox and fucking like drug money, fucking stacks of fucking $100 bills. And she's like, I'm gonna put it down a down payment. Give me $10,000 cash. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, why don't you fix the fucking hole in the wall?
Because she needs air, bro. She needs air, bro.
Wasn't expecting that at all. But that's a prime example that don't ever prejudge houses.
Don't fucking prejudge, bro. You have no idea.
No.
Chris says I live in the part of Oklahoma where old guys wear coveralls all the time, live in an okay house, and drive a farm truck that can buy anything that you can have cash. Ridiculous. Yeah, that tracks. That tracks. Yeah.
I believe it. You're getting them rich houses. I remember going in one big house. Guy had like a brand new Mercedes. To look at the stuff, and it looked like he just moved in. There was no furniture.
No furniture.
Dishes. Yeah, dishes in the sink. There was a TV and like a couch in the living room. You go upstairs. There was a mattress on the floor. Everything else is empty. And I asked him, I'm like, oh, did you just moving in? He's like, no, I've lived here a couple of years. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, oh, so you're moving out? And he was like, nope. But I'm like, okay, well, this is fucking weird. I'm just going to leave this the fuck alone. Come to find out, it was wintertime. His heat exchanger was fucking cracked. The guy never changed his filters. Airflow was a problem. Big ass crack. I pulled the motherfucker out and showed it to him. There was no denying it. And we talk about, I was like, it probably makes sense. The whole thing hasn't been taken care of. Just replace the whole thing. But worst case scenario, we can just do the furnace. And try to do financing. He cannot get approved to replace the whole thing. So you know how it works. I call the finance company, hey, is there a way to get this done? Can we just do the furnace only? And they were like, if he puts $1,000 down, we could finance the rest. The guy looks at me and says, I don't have that kind of money. I'm like, what? Okay. I left there with nothing. The guy had no heat.
He didn't have any money either. This is funny. Skip says, love the podcast, bro. HVAC is classy and never ceases to surprise. And I can't figure out if he's actually being facetious when he says it's classy, or he's saying like, no, it's actually pretty classy. But based on this podcast and the conversations we have, I'd say I'm going to check the not so classy box, but hey, what do I know?
Hey, we can be classy.
There was this beautiful house, bro. Okay. Yeah. Skip's kidding. There's this beautiful house. Okay. It's gorgeous. There's a young couple. They get home. There's all this damage in their ceiling. The guy that was there before, unfortunately, screwed up the drain line for the air. He fixed the AC upstairs, and but the drain line, he pitched it wrong and actually ended up leaking through the coil. They walked in from vacation. The entire ceiling of this beautiful house was like toast, bro. They needed to get thousands of dollars worth of damage, right? They bought this house. There is nothing in this house. There's this young couple with a baby, right? Come to find out, like the husband goes in another room. It's not a husband. They met. They're like professionals and oops. And they had a baby, but they're like, well, fuck it. Let's pretend to be a family. And then they decided to like move in together and, cohabitate and like try to be a family or whatever it was. And meanwhile, She literally is like, she's like, yeah, we would have never gotten fucking together and bought this house if it wasn't for this baby. So they're like, okay, nothing. Like, I'm like, well, we're going to replace the unit. They're like, well, I mean, we don't really have the money. And I'm like, okay. And then they're like taking like the longest term financing. And so like, well, it goes to show you really don't know. You really don't know. They look like all pimped out in their brand new, beautiful house in Chester, New Jersey. And they had all this, literally beautiful, but you never know, bro. And then you got people living in a no joke, living in a trailer who are like, bro, I got you. Flipping. Here's your cash. Here's your cash.
Yeah, right. It's crazy. You definitely can't prejudge. You do the best of your ability based on what's provided. You give the options to the customer. I always say, I recommend you decide. That's let them decide, and whatever they decide to do, they gotta live with it. But you have to know what you're offering, how to explain it. When asked, don't over explain. I feel like that's what happens too much, and people go in there and over explain. You talk yourself out of stuff. So,
yo, do you ever have you ever had a customer with a weird fetish or like weird shit in the house where you're like, that seems weird and out of place? Speaking of which, I think it was Phil sent me a picture like a couple of months ago, and like it was like a Where's Waldo picture, because it was a picture of just like the living room. And I'm like scanning the picture because I'm wondering why. Maybe it was John. And I'm wondering why he's sending me this picture, right? It's a living room. You see the TV. I'm scanning all over, right? And dude, there's like an end table, like in the living room. And right on it is this humongous purple dildo. And it's just sitting there right in the living room in all its glory. And there's like a screen door, like right there. I'm like, oh, well, that's what I'm getting this picture for. But I like that he didn't. Yeah. Phil just said it was purple. It was purple. Yeah. It was purple. Yeah. A purple. So just think about that, right? Oh yeah. That was funny. But have you ever had anybody that had like a weird fetish or a weird collection of stuff? I had a guy who had a stacks of news. He was crazy. He had stacks of newspapers organized in magazines. Dude, when I tell you, everywhere, everything. I think they were actually like date organized stacks, like walking through this old 115-year-old house. I'm like, this is fucking weird. There's like these stacks of fucking old newspapers just piled up.
I've seen that, but not neat. I've seen hoarders like that. It's nothing neat about it. I've seen some pretty rough hoarding situations. Trying to think of one that was weird. I remember a guy that was taxidermy, and he had like, it was a bunch of cats and dogs, and he said that they were all his old pets. And the guy was like 50, and I'm like, who the fuck has that many animals?
Well, like, yeah, over the years, bro. I mean, you could have a couple dogs at a time, and then they die, and then you get a couple other dogs. You know what I mean? Give me a new dog.
It was a lot, though. I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, like, is this guy like offing his animals on purpose? Like, just finding like stray animals, and like, so he can. It was definitely weird, and the poses they were in. I might even be able to find pictures. If I find them, I'll send them to you. But that would probably be the weirdest one. I mean, I've seen dildos left out and stuff like that. That's been weird. Or one guy that I thought it was him and his daughter, and it was not his daughter, and it was 100% illegal. There was no way that fucking girl was over 18, and this motherfucker was like 45 at the time. So probably should have called somebody, but I didn't.
Dude, somebody in one of the groups sent me a message about a story about that. Like they were actually, and they called the cops, and then they ended up getting subpoenaed to court. The guy was he was trafficking women, and they caught him. They arrested him. Actually, the cops said that they were onto him in some sort of way, but they couldn't get enough evidence to get the warrant to go in there. but because the service tech was in there while he was fixing the furnace, the guy was right behind him. He was like, just fucking fix the furnace. And he looks over and he sees like fucking food holes, bro, like the slits in the doors, and he can hear what's going on or whatever. And he's like, holy shit, like this guy has fucking prisoners in this house. And he called the cops. Cops went out there. They arrested the guy. They saved the girls. The guy, it was a beautiful story, a terrible story, but beautiful that he was able to like get them out of there, bro. Those stories, but yeah, dude, service technician that I knew got the homeowner locked him in a closet. Dude, said, oh, it's through here, shoved him in, closed the door, locked it, left him in there. He barely had any cell phone service, but somehow he was able to like call out and like call like dispatch or whatever it was. And then they called the cops. Cops get there. He's like, no, I didn't lock him in the door. I didn't do that. It was an accident. The door closed. I couldn't open it up and blah, blah, blah. True story, bro. Guy was in there for like an hour.
I'd have beat that guy's fucking ass. I'll take that jail trip. I got bail money for that. Yeah, I'd have beat his ass.
Yeah. I don't remember there ever being a violent altercation in a house. Do you? Like, you ever seen like a fight happen?
No.
Or almost get into a fight?
No, not at the house I've been in. I've been at houses and seen stuff happen like across the street, especially you're working in Baltimore City, dude. It's like going to the fucking zoo. So, I mean, you definitely see some shit, you know, gunshots and stuff like that. But the call I've been at, I've never had it happen. Oh no, I take that back. Obviously we all hate when people call like 2 HVAC companies to give them a quote and they book it for the same fucking time. Well, a house next door, it was 2 like solar guys, I think. They weren't HVAC, so I forget what trade they were in, but they weren't HVAC. I know that. And I guess they got booked at the same time, and they're outside like talking shit to each other. And I'm just sitting out there like laughing. I'm like, oh, this is kind of funny. I'm gonna listen to these dudes. It just keeps going. They're slowly getting closer. And it seems like they're talking shit, but that's all it's going to be. And all of a sudden, the one guy just goes, whack, hits the dude right in the face. The guy gets up and he's like, oh, it's on now, bitch. Dude, they fought. They were going at it for must have been 15 minutes. What? Neighbors came out. They're watching.
Fights are like 5. Most fights are 30 seconds to like maybe a minute.
Well, that's what gets me. Okay, it was at least like 10 minutes. I mean, it was definitely a good bit, and it wasn't quick. It was like movie fight where like they hit him, guy stumbles, falls down, gets up, the other guy hits him, and I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? This is great. And then the thing is, after that, they both got in their fucking trucks and left. Like neither of them actually went into the house. So that was pretty funny.
That is funny. What's the most you ever run a famous call? Like a famous guy, or like a football player, or like an athlete or something like that, politician?
So I have around here, the ones that I've done personally, I did Dean Pease, who was the Ravens defensive coordinator, was also for the Patriots, and then he went to Tennessee. I did his house. And what's his name? Rudy. Seen the movie Rudy, right?
Yeah.
The black guy in Rudy.
Oh, wow.
That's like his boss.
Yeah. Yeah. Rock Hudson.
Yes.
No, not Rock Hudson.
No.
Rock. His name is Rock something.
No, it's Charles.
Oh, you're right. He had a show called
The
Rock in the 90s. Yeah.
Yes. Charles Dutton.
Charles Dutton. Yeah. He's got that thing about him. I remember. Yeah. That's kind of cool. Was he a cool guy?
Yeah. He was awesome. Towards the end, he ended up getting like sick, and we deal with his family or whatever. But he lives in Marriottsville, Maryland. He was a cool dude.
Oh, wow. Yeah. My buddy Chris, who we all worked with, he went to rent a sales call at Lauren Hill's house in South Orange, New Jersey. That was interesting. Yeah.
Lauryn Hill, like Fuji's Lauryn Hill, like
Yeah.
that?
Like
Is he a black guy?
Strumming my pain. He's not. No.
Oh, because she's a racist cunt, for the record.
Well, for the record, I don't think the deal happened, even though he sold the job. I'll just leave it like that. So I don't think anybody can watch. Anyway. Before we go, anything you want to talk about? Anything you want to cover? Anything you want to express? Anything that's on your mind?
Just, I guess it's hard because I'm always in front of a camera, a couple times a week, but it's people out there, man. For one, be the best version of yourself. Stop making fucking excuses. Discipline yourself. And like I said before, stop trying to look at other people to make yourself happy, and stop being ignorant when it comes to the trade. For example, when you say the word sales and people are like, "Oh, he's a fucking sales guy." Like, stop. You're not fucking helping yourself by being a douchebag like that. It's okay that you want to be honest, but don't be ignorant. And the same guys that are like, "I don't sell inverters, man. All I need is a 16 SEER 2-stage." You're a dipshit. I'm just telling you, you're a dipshit. And I will debate you any day, all day, and I will kill you with facts, because it's a stupid argument and you make yourself sound dumb. It's educate yourself. You know what I mean? Like, just don't do these lopsided opinions, and give back to each other, man. Like we said earlier, we're in a shortage. There's not enough of us. So by you helping somebody else get better, your job is not in jeopardy. Okay, so we got to get back to the old days where we help each other and we try to lift our trade up. And the more of us that do that and do it honestly, we're going to get we're going to force these shit bags, these chucking of trucks that are doing things messed up, out of the industry when we start raising the bar. And I think there's a movement happening with a bunch of us, like my buddy, our friend Ben Poole with HVAC Tactical and the awards and that movement. There is a movement happening. And if we all get on board, we're going to make an impact. It's that simple.
That's awesome, buddy. Dude, I love you, man. I seriously,
too,
ever since I met you, I've been, I just enjoy your company. We've gone out a bunch of times. We've been to different, events and whatnot. I hope to see you soon. I actually, you know what? I have an interview coming up with the owner, of the CEO of SkillCat. Actually wanted to have an interview, with me. I don't know if you use SkillCat or you're familiar with it, but
familiar.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. And that's a very HVAC centered thing, because I go off the rails a little bit. I bring in other in-home salespeople and other professionals and whatnot. And I even had a one about these girls that were on the Netflix documentary, The Program. So I've gone a little off the rails a little bit, but yeah, the SkillCat. I have Kathy Nielsen coming on. I think she's next week. The chicken lady. And then I don't know when Ken's supposed to fly into town and we're supposed to do this thing live. I got a service technician. His name's Jordan. His name's Jordan coming on. And then I have, there's actually okay. I probably should have made this in the beginning. I probably should have said this in the beginning. Many of you have seen I'm going to make a separate post for this, but many of you have seen, there's a whole big scandal thing that happened on, was it the Today Show, or maybe it was Good Morning America, and it was the service technicians, and they went out there, and then the guy tried to tell her she had a micro leak in her coil and all this kind of stuff. Okay, well, I have the old owner, the guy who created that company, who no longer owns it. Okay, you guys know him. He also started CEO Warrior. His name is Mike Agugliaro. He is actually going to be on next week. It's going to be a fiery episode. He's on fire. He wants to talk about, it was Inside Edition. Thank you, Chris. He's going to be on next week. It's going to be a pretty busy live stream, I think. And I'm excited about talking to him. So for all of you guys that are listening, check in. I think it's the 21st, but I have to check. But yeah, anyway,
that's awesome.
Gil, I love you, dude. Awesome. I'm going to end this right here, guys. I know you end with, like, you got the national anthem and Star Spangled Banner and all.
I start with that.
You start, yeah.
Maybe if you watched once in a while. Oh, we were friends,
Dude. I watched 100 episodes. Actually, I'd rather listen than watch. I find it amazing that people watch all of their podcasts today. I was talking to Jennifer about this. I'm like, I cannot believe the amount of people that watch their podcasts. Like if I'm in the truck, I just want to listen to it. But apparently everybody's like, no, dude, give me the video. I want to see these guys move around and stay in the same spot for the next, hour and a half. So
I have some, but the audio is what pays the bills. But anyway, I love you too, brother. I appreciate you. I love what you're doing. Keep doing it, man. And if I can help you in any way, I'm a fucking phone call away, my man.
All right, man. Love you, dude. All right, but good night, guys.